What is up, RotoGrinders? Dean here. That's Dean7904. If you want to get all technical, joined today by the greatest DFS player in all of Saskatchewan, Canada. It's one TJ Zwarich. TJ working on the holiday, man. It's Victoria's Day. Shout out Victoria. I was researching this before the show. Welcome to the show, by the way. Fireworks, festivities, parades. What do you do for Victoria's Day? Or traditionally, what do people do? Not you necessarily.
Typically throughout May long weekend, people just go somewhere, like it's a big first weekend where they go to a cabin at the lake for the summer, that kind of thing. And so it's typically not like just the Monday is something big. It's just kind of like a weekend for getting together with friends and family.
All right. Well, appreciate you jumping on for the holiday. Devin, disrespectful, making the schedule, not even realizing, not even acknowledging it's Victoria's Day. And you don't want to ruffle any feathers. So I guess it was kind of power through and say, you know what?
I was on Friday, Saturday, Sunday as well, so I'm just rolling with it.
Wait, is Victoria's Day like a whole week-long event, or you're just popping up all the schedule?
I just mean like I wouldn't have gone anywhere for the long weekend, because I was on all of the days.
What's up, chat? Kindly hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. Do all those things. Hit all the buttons. Alex says somebody in Saskatoon is really pissed. Well, hey, look, prove us wrong or prove TJ wrong. Is there somebody out there in Saskatoon that thinks they're better? Heads up for rolls. Do people still do that? Is that still a thing? I don't know. But, I threw it out there. I gave you that moniker. You've not denied it, right? As far as you know, right?
No, it's undoubtedly
all challengers welcome.
It's undoubtedly.
I love the confidence. Oh, man. Kirkwood, what's up, Kirkwood? Hopefully you had yourself a good weekend. I can't imagine why you wouldn't. Let's see. We got Kyle Raleigh. Yeah, the dumper's back. We got Kyle Raleigh back in the lineup. That ought to get everybody excited. Kyle Raleigh, the big dumper today for Seattle. They have the luck, the good fortune of facing Oakland, the putrid Oakland offense. We're running a little different, by the way. If you guys weren't aware, didn't piece together. We're on 5:30. Why are we on at 5:30? Well, because the site does not start till 7:20, right? We take you all straight up the lock. Obviously, we yield to the crunch time crew at about I think 6:40 or so. They take you guys home. I really wish, I was hoping that we would have some of the earlier games included, but the sites did not cooperate. Fanduel and DK both pushing their slates back, starting at 7:20 as opposed to like 6:30, 6:35, 6:40. Just I really like the Cardinals today, but I guess everybody else would like the Cardinals too. They look incredible. You probably didn't even look at that slate because it's not. Well, maybe you bet some homer guys possibly. I don't know. You got some player props out there for the people when it comes to earlier games, or you're just focused on this main slate today?
Just focused on the main slates. We got 10 more likes until our first Spidey Bomb. We'll be dropping them every 50 likes. There goes my cat. But yeah, I only looked at the main slate today. I didn't take a peek at anything earlier.
Yeah. All right. How many likes we have? 40 already, right out the gate. The people want those Spidey Bombs, huh? Like normally Spidey gets to come on the show and relax. Takes them a while to get the likes, but I guess they know. The people know you're going to be firing them off for sure. How are the Spidey Bombs doing? What's the official tally? I think you had just keep saying Christopher Morel, and you're not going to be wrong. Just every single day, Christopher Morel. I don't care if he's batting 9th or 7th or 6th or 8th. He's going to homer. He's got like 20 home runs if you include his AAA homers. But I think you had a Morel call over the weekend, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so they've been fine. We've been getting about 1.5 Spidey Bombs hitting every night, and when we're dropping 3 or 4, it's definitely not bad. We're making our money back, but nothing too crazy. And so hopefully we're ready to catch fire again here. They definitely haven't been cold, but we're just kind of at a nice warm stage of Spidey Bombs right now. We got to light that fuse a little bit and get them going.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's not exactly green. I guess green is just like good as far as weather-wise. I was trying to do a weather tie-in, and I failed ferociously. No precipitation issues right now, as far as I can tell. Just Atlanta with some potential pop-ups, as it's one to do. It is yellow as of right now. I'll drop this link in the chat for the people. Going to take a peek at Weather Edge as well. It's a core slate. It's a short slate, but it's a core slate with terrible hitting offenses. Man, this is a weird one. 11.5 is the total. We have almost 6 team totals. Like it's a coin toss, according to Vegas. 5.75 team total on both sides. The Marlins versus the Rockies. Cabrera versus Chase Anderson, who's still sticking around. The Mariners, of course, have a team total above 5 because they're facing Kyle Muller in that horrendous Oakland bullpen. Boston and LA. That's the Angels, 9.5 they combine for, and that's a coin toss as well. So both teams almost at a 5 total. The Braves a little bit over 5 total, facing Gavin Stone. Gavin Stone, one of the prospects there for the Dodgers. Dodgers probably, didn't want to bring him back so soon, but the Dodgers are having a lot of injuries. Unfortunately, Julio Urias, Dustin May, they are struggling. They called up, I'm forgetting the other dude's name too. That's going to be pitching later on this week. I think even bigger prospect. I bid some fab for him. I know you're a big fan of that when it comes to the season long. The people love the season long conversation. But Miller, I believe his name is, one of the prize prospects for the Dodgers, will be coming up later on this week. What is your overall assessment on this slate? My first thought is that I don't want to be over the field on Marlins and Rockies because those offenses are kind of terrible, and they're going to be pretty popular. You tell me, where is your mind? Of course, we'll talk pitchers first, but I'm just curious to get like your general screenshot of this slate.
I like the Marlins a lot more than I like the Rockies. I'm a lot more interested in getting to the Marlins, but even then, it's not like it's this entire team that I love, and I'm trying to get a lot of. It's really just, and this will adjust if the lineups aren't what we think they're going to be, but it's really just like Birdie, Soler, and Dela Cruz as the 3 guys that I'm getting to a lot from that team. Neither of them are my top stack. Neither of them are actually in my top 2 stacks. So I'll likely be a little underweight on the field as well.
Yeah, I'm looking at our consensus rankings, and I did not put Miami first, but Miami is number 1 consensus-wise. When we did the rankings earlier today, myself, Justin Carlucci will be on later. The Luch, that is. Keith Eyster, he'll be on later as well. And then Head Chopper. I got Seattle number 1. We'll see. And we'll just tease yours because we'll kind of talk to stacks later on in the show. But pitching wise, speaking of Seattle, they're facing Oakland's. I think Castillo is the very clear and obvious best person throwing baseballs today. Ownership is going to reflect that, not surprisingly. I have FanDuel open right now. As far as ownership, we're talking about 36%, 10.5K. You can still make pretty good lineups over there. I was kind of messing around with FanDuel before the show. And DK, I'm going to do after the show. I'm going to kind of I'm not going to run the 150 or 200. What are you actually running today? How many lineups we got going for you?
Just 20 for me today. I max entered the $4.20 entry max on DraftKings today.
All right. So are we going to play the feud? Are you certain, like, as far as who's in the bucket and who's out of the bucket as far as your pitchers?
Yes.
Okay. Ownership wise, by the way, Luis Castillo on DK currently at 59%. That's the bat ownership, what it's worth. I wonder what our plate IQ ownership is. Probably something similar, 63%, even higher. So for sure he's going to be super heavily owned. Christian Javier, 34% against Milwaukee. On the other side, Burns at 30%. And then a little bit of a benefit there, the absence of Jose Altuve. Altuve not playing today, DeBone. Once again, leading off. Bailey Ober at 22%. Charlie Morton, 17%. Singer, 14%. And everybody else is in the single digits. You're only running 20 lineups out. All right.
I got
so you
5 pitchers in the pool.
Okay, so this is easy. Okay, 5 pitchers in the pool. This is easy. I can work backwards. I'm going to work forwards. Luis Castillo's on the board.
Yes, of course.
Show me Luis Castillo. Yeah. Christian Javier's got to be on the board.
Yes, he is.
Corbin Burns is on the board.
On the board.
Bailey Ober's on the board.
Bailey Ober's on the board.
Okay, so it's either Charlie Morton, Brady Singer, or if you're feeling froggy, if you're feeling ambitious, Edward Cabrera. It's one of those 3. You can confirm it's one of those 3, yes?
I can.
Cabrera, Cabrera's got the biggest K rate on this slate amongst the already throwing baseballs today.
I did, actually. I read that in the $1 Million Musings.
Who writes the $1 Million Musings? That's Dave Potts. Jesus, good. Shout out to that. If you want to get yourself some premium, by all means, you want to read that every single day. It's to your benefit. So what's interesting about Cabrera, not only is he have the biggest K rate on this slate, you know what else he has? The biggest walk rate. 30.1% Ks. That's really good. 16.4% walks. That's really, really bad. Brabia, I guess, technically has the biggest K rate, but he doesn't count, right? He's just an opener, essentially. And is that true? Is it going to be Minaya that's likely to back him up? Because if that is the case, I saw, I think it was DK that had like Manaea listed as the possible long man. I will be interested in Minnesota righties. I really hope that Buxton plays, and maybe that's why their lineup is not out just yet. It's still less than 2 hours, but we'll see. If it's Manaea, Manaea has been rough.
For what it's worth, earlier in the day, like the bat had him projected, and now they don't. Looking at the plate IQ projections, I'm going to take a peek at them quick, and
it was Cobb yesterday, so I don't
no longer have Manaea projected for any pitches. So I haven't seen anything, but it doesn't look like we're expecting him to be the bulk relief guy anymore.
Yeah, maybe it's just a flat out, bullpen game. I'm not sure. I've not dug into that stuff. But when I saw Manaea was possibly the guy, got excited. Wonder when he pitched last. We'll look into that. But let's see. Alex is saying it's Singer. Is it going to be Singer? I'm trying to figure out whoever this person is. It could be Singer. Sure. He's throwing baseballs against Detroit. Detroit not very good. The other option was Charlie Morton. Morton's is a tick too expensive, I think. Just a tick too expensive. I'm going to say it's not Charlie Morton.
It is not.
Okay. You can play him, 17%. He's been better of late. Don't really want to pick on the Dodgers. Ballpark's pretty good at baseballs in as well. But, okay, we're trying to get a clean sheet here. You know what I mean? Worst case scenario, we get one strike. But this is one of those where I'm supposed to, throw a perfect game, right? You're not supposed to talk me about throwing in the middle of a perfect game. You know how that works with jinxes. But let's see. Is it Edward Cabrera, who's 8.3K on DK, or Brady Singer, who's 7K on DK? I think I'm kind of galaxy branding it. I'm being too cute with the Cabrera thing, and I think for sure he's interesting if you're running a ton of lineups. And I may get just a taste, kind of leveragey, I suppose, if Colorado gets rostered. But again, you're rooting for the strikeouts as opposed to the walks. But there's a big range of outcomes. So you can also get BABIP in that ballpark. But I'm going to say that you're just going to go reliable pitcher against Detroit pretty cheap, and Brady Singer is your last man in.
Yeah, Brady Singer. It's just a price thing. He's 7K, and you need that in some lineups to be able to get to some of these expensive bats on the slate. So Brady Singer is likely going to end up in a lot of my lineups, but I mean, all 5 of these guys are, since I only got 5.
We have Keith hanging out in chat too. He says he's expecting Manaea or Beck. Who's Beck? I know Rod Beck, but he's no longer pitching these days. That was a cool closer back in the day for the Giants. Yeah, okay. It's going to be one of those two, potentially, maybe both. Got to keep an eye on that as far as who's going to be the long man for Sam Fran. But all right. Let's see. Is there anybody you're just going heavily as far as ownership, like you're hitting lock button situation as far as Castillo? Bosbro saying that Castillo's ownership's too high. He hasn't been that good of late. I could be wrong, but I feel like he's had a rough string of matchups, right? Hasn't he played some tough teams? I feel like that's the case. Let's not making that up
now. Boston, Texas, Houston, Toronto,
St.
Colorado,
Louis,
where he lit it up, the Cubs, the Angels, where he had another good game.
No cupcake matchups there.
No, he's been, and he's hasn't been bad. He's got a low XFIP. He's striking guys out. It's just he has been getting hit pretty hard this year. But how worried are we really about that in Oakland?
Want to see the Sierra here for Castillo for what it's worth. 3.4 Sierra, 3.31 ERA, and like you said, 3.3 ERA is not terrible. It's fine. The Ks are pretty good, right? 27.8%. Swinging strike rate backs it up. Probably been a little bit unlucky as far as Ks, if you trust that. Walks pretty solid as well, 5.3%. This Oakland lineup is not as terrible as it may be advertised. They're worse pitching wise than they are hitting wise. That's by default, if no other thing. I believe that there's no lineup just yet for Oakland, but it's not going to be great. Our projected lineup strikes. I think they strike out the most. The most as far as versus righties this season. The projected lineup backs that up. Kemp's basically the only contact guy dating back to last season at 10.9%. Otherwise, including him collectively, we're talking about 25.2% strikeout versus righties. I feel pretty good about Castillo and just kind of getting different elsewhere. Rowley is back, and he's actually catching too, for what it's worth. He's not DHing, so I assume he is feeling well enough to not DH and catch. Kelnick is the DH. Crawford is leading off. Crawford, France, J-Rod, Kelnick, Suarez, Raleigh, Big Dumper, Hernandez, Pollock, and Caballero? Is that how you pronounce that? I'm not sure. I apologize if I don't know. And yeah, the ownership's huge on Castillo. If you're running a single entry today, TJ, you're making one lineup. If you weren't playing, or would you play Castillo? I guess is the first question, and just like take that ownership and be different elsewhere, or would you be different elsewhere as far as a pitcher, and who would that pitcher be?
Yeah, I'd be playing Castillo in like a single entry type thing today. I wouldn't be trying to get too crazy. I would just I'd fade Coors realistically, and I'd be stacking other teams, and that's how I'd be getting different in that type of format. But Castillo is still going to be my highest owned guy today, and if I was running a single entry, it would still be with him.
If we put Cheese in the 7 hole for Oakland, it would look like a normal Oakland lineup. Who are the two guys batting behind Cheese? I mean, I saw video. Dave is really good at a lot of things. I saw video of him, one of those live finals, or whatever. He was in Cleveland. I can't remember where it's at. You know, they let him like participate in like a little BP. And, you know, Dave is a little bit more Luis Ariz than he is like Joey Gallo, let's just say, I suppose. You know, maybe make a little contact, shooting for a single possibly. But, you know, not shots fired, but it's not his forte either. He should be batting ninth is the point. Yeah, if you're playing Castillo and Coors are super chalky, Boss Bro saying, yeah, is the field just going to play Coors because it's Coors and that's that?
Probably.
Is that the correct way to play it or no?
I mean, they got the highest total on the board, but no, they're going to be Miami's my third favorite stack today, and Colorado falls even further behind that.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're kind of talking about pitching first, but like, just it really is a big decision point on this slate, I think, as far as what you do at Coors Field. And you know, you go to the plate IQ, and there's just no power in this Miami side. The absence of Jazz, we don't have a lineup just yet, but we're projecting, you know, Birdie to lead off. And he's got plenty of speed, sure. And if he hits it in the gap, he'll get a triple. Maybe it's an inside the Parker, we get a little goofy bounce. Jorge Soler, of course, tremendous power. Actually, not spectacular numbers wise. Dating back to last season versus righties, 384 bats, big number. 159 ISO, not very good. Woba's not very good. He strikes out too much, but you know, surely when he gets a hold of it, it's just he pummels baseballs. Ariz, no power.
It's still a 46% hard hit rate and a 46% fly ball rate for Soler this year against right-handed bats, and so like, yeah, he might fly out a couple times, he might strike out a couple times, but he's got the altitude on his side. This feels like a great Soler day, especially going up against a guy that's not going to be striking people out.
And then everybody else is like, you know, not great either. Cooper, not very good. De La Cruz, not very good. A little bit of power, but not much. Like it's color coordinated. It's idiot proof, right? We can figure this out. I can figure it out. But Ariz this season, it's just wild to see.
We just got the Twins lineup.
Is Buxton in it?
He is. He's batting cleanup.
Okay, that's annoying, but okay. At least he's in it. Look who's leading off. You want to pronounce the dude's name? Who's leading? Julien?
Edouard Julien leading off for the Twins, my Canadian guy.
He's going to jump back and forth as far as AAA and back in the majors. Correa and then Kirilov, Buxton, Farmer, Castro, Solano, Taylor, and Vasquez. And if he thinks it's going to be Minaya, man, I like Correa and Buxton a fair bit because Minaya has not been good. I think he hasn't pitched in like a week or so. I was just taking a peek at this. So he's fresh, but he's been really bad this year. We're talking. He pitched an inning and 2/3 on the 17th. You're not going to believe it. He gave up a homer. Before that, he didn't pitch for a week either, and just pitched 2 2/3. You're not going to believe it. He gave up a homer. Yeah, he did have a pretty.
That's who that lineup's missing. Sorry.
Yeah, he might jump in at some point, and I don't know. That's kind of a weird thing. And there's no injury there, right? I don't think so. I think he's just getting a day off.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
Okay. What are we still waiting for as far as
just
lineups?
the Miami lineup and Oakland, but Miami is really the one that we're waiting for.
And Boston as well.
Yeah, and Boston, right.
Yeah, Boston, I assume we get a bunch of lefties and like Justin Turner, essentially, against the Jaime Barria. Yeah, Yeah, what? I guess it's still the Marlins are kind of out west, so it's. I was wondering if they're waiting for somebody like injury wise, but I mean, just the rest of that lineup is bad, and like Xavier Edwards and Stallings is just a journeyman catcher. He's like not very good. Burdick, not a lot of promise there. Wendell is whatever. But like what I was saying before is Arias. His did you look at it by chance? Let's see if it's this year or dated back to last year, which is the more interesting number. His strikeout rate, Luis Arias, his strikeout rate in 2023 versus right-handers, it's a sample size of 138 plate appearances. How many strikeouts or what's the percentage?
I saw it. So I'm with you on it, but I can't do the guess. It's 1.4%. Just nuts. This guy simply refuses to strike out.
That's 2 strikeouts, right? By my math, my UCF math, I think that's 2 strikeouts versus which is just wild. No power, but no barrels. I think this year it's either no barrels or 1 barrel. I think he's still at no barrels, maybe 1. He might be able to get a double in Coors Field, but he's obviously
gonna poke that ball in there.
Yeah, like I think he's got a really good chance to get singles. A better chance than most. But it's just I don't know what to do with him, and like if he's going to be popular, like how many at bats does he need to like be important? Well, he's 3 for 4 with 3 singles and a couple of runs. All right, good for him. My guy homered. Same thing. I don't know. It's just what do you do with Luis Arias is kind of what I'm asking.
Oh, that's why my lineups look all messy. I hate when somebody randomly gets added to the pool and you don't realize it, and so they end up in like 70% of your lineups because they don't have a cap.
Who was it?
But it was Luis Rengifo, who I am not trying to have even in my pool of 20 players today. So we're going to try that one again. But I'll probably have like 10-15% Arias. Like I'm not going to play him alone ever, but I'm not going to try and take him out of Miami stacks.
Shannon's asking, does Roth have any weather edge data for Canadian wildfires impacting on Coors? Skies hazy and smoky in Colorado. Forgive my ignorance, but why would Canadian wildfires impact Coors? It's far away from Canada, or is that a dumb question I'm asking?
I don't know. It's probably not that far away from British Columbia, actually. And like we're currently being impacted by where I am by the wildfires in BC, and that, I mean, Colorado's probably no further from Vancouver than we are. So you never know. I haven't heard that they're going to be having any issues, but I don't think Roth released a report for that either. We have reached way over 50 likes. I realize we haven't given the first Spidey Bomb yet. We're already 12 likes away from the second Spidey Bomb. So we're going to be ripping them off right quick, back to back here. The first is from my favorite stack on the entire slate. He's going to get overlooked a little bit in that lefty-lefty matchup. And the first Spidey Bomb of the day is Jared Kelenic. Absolutely love him to hit. I mean, I gave a pretty hefty lead in already.
Well, let me come on. I'm gonna play. I like to play the home version. It's I like to play along. But go ahead. It's Kelenic.
Yeah. It's Jared Kelenic. First Spidey Bomb of the day. He's gonna be knocking one out. Seattle is my favorite stack on the slate today. And then let's see. Do we already have? Yes, we do already have 100 likes because I knew the people were gonna be.
Give a clue so the people can try to figure it out organically.
He belongs to my second favorite stack of the day. And the one thing I want to say with Kelenic is one of the reasons I like him so much is you can get him for plus 550 on Caesars, plus 520 on Fanduel. So he's got really good odds today to hit a home run. Second guy's on my second favorite stack. And he has the exact same odds on Caesars as Jared Kelenic. And he is not somebody that you would maybe think of playing on Fanduel.
I know who it is.
Who's Spidey Bomb number 2?
It's Sean Murphy.
Sean Murphy, Spidey Bomb number 2. You can also find him for plus 550 on Caesars. He's plus 450 on Fanduel. Atlanta is my second favorite stack today, and Sean Murphy is Spidey Bomb number 2.
Dude, I mean, come on. You weren't impressed with me getting first of all, I swept the board. And I'm not here to tap myself in the back here, but I swept the board in Family Feud. And I've also, the Kelenic one was kind of a layup, right? You always pick Kelenic anyway. It's your cheat code. It's like Chris
Yeah,
Morel,
he's the one player who's hit 5 Spidey bombs this year. He's got a great percentage when I pick him, so I can't not pick him.
I hope there's an Excel spreadsheet of all the Spidey bombs out there someplace, or there was a username like did Spidey whatever. What was the username? Like did Spidey bombs
bomb hit? But they I don't think they've been playing DFS this year, and so they haven't. Whoever that was, they haven't been posting them.
Or they changed their screen name, I suppose. I'm not really sure what's going on, but we're 2 for 2 so far. We'll keep the game going for sure. Why are the Braves your second favorite stack? I mean, I'm asking that like I like the Braves too, but I want to hear you talk about the Braves.
They're going up against a young pitcher who has pedigree but looked terrible in his first start, and they're the Braves. This guy, all I really care about whenever somebody's facing the Braves is, does this pitcher have strikeout stuff? If no, then I want to play a lot of the Braves, and maybe this guy's going to be good, but he was terrible in his first outing. He had 1 strikeout. I'm not worried about that whatsoever. So especially the top of this order, Acuna, Olsen, and Murphy, in terms of spend ups, I absolutely love them. And then even these cheapies, like I think if you want to run a back half of the stack with Rosario, Acuna, Arcia, and Harris, I don't even think that's a bad idea either.
AAA last year, Stone, 121 innings, 168 strikeouts. He was very, very good. Only gave up 3 homers. In this season in AAA, the PCL, which I think is known for being an offensive league. Don't quote me on that. I'm not a minor league baseball like savant. 41 strikeouts in 35 innings. Also, 5 homers, let's say. Yeah, and he kind of scuffled. And I think the other thing is, I'm pretty sure this Dodgers bullpen is like beat up. Like they were just overused because their starters keep getting hurt. So the bullpen's been working really, really hard. Just kind of taking a peek at their usage. Man, there's a lot of guys in there. I'm not really sure who's available or who's around, but like yesterday they had 4 working in there. Suero, Miller, Burrell, Bickford. Phillips, their closer, is pretty well rested. But if you're getting to the closer, it's probably not good news anyway, unless it's like a 9-8 game, right? You're probably in, like people always, it's one of those things that people talk about as far as bullpens. It's like, oh man, that Baltimore bullpen. Yeah, the top 2 guys are really good, or like the Milwaukee bullpen, like Williams is really good. But if you're up 17-2 in the 9th inning, guess who you're not going to face, right? I'm exaggerating with the score, but you know what I'm saying. You get into the worst, the bigger the score, typically the worst arm that's coming out of that bullpen. So, if your stack is working as you want it to work, if it's 9-2 in the 5th inning, you're probably not going to see the best of the arms. Anyways, they're not going to burn them on games that essentially don't matter anymore. Not saying you can't acknowledge that stuff. And by the way, we do have in Plate IQ, we have a thing that basically talks about like bullpens, when the score is like a certain score, that 3 or 4 or 5 run game, how much different it would be as far as the expected arm you're going to get if you really want to dig into that stuff. But there you go. Is that your general thought on bullpens as well? It's if I'm facing the 7, 8, and 9 guys that are the best 3 arms, that we're probably in trouble anyway, and our stack probably died anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, very, very similar stuff.
All right.
We did get the Oakland lineup. We got the Red Sox lineup. Nothing too funky. We are still waiting on the Miami one.
Hey, look who just popped up in chat. Did the Spidey bombs hit yesterday? Is here. Just has not been feeling well. Oh, well, hopefully you feel better. Sorry to hear that. Back problems. That is the worst. Feel better there, and hopefully some good vibes coming your way. So you just mentioned the name, and all of a sudden they are lurking there, hanging out. And now, if you believe in I don't know what this is, but you mentioned the Spidey bombs. We mentioned Spidey. He pops up out of nowhere too. We have how many into the next one here, TJ?
We're still 30 likes away from the next Spidey bomb, so keep hitting that like button and let's get more. We got a lot of people watching. Heck, we might even be able to get 4 before the Crunch Time crew comes in here today.
By the way, they did ask about the weather edge in Colorado. I can't tell you anything about the haziness or any sort of issues there. Nothing I've seen. But according to Weather Edge, 207 similar games, 73 degrees, kind of a bit of a crosswind out the left field, 6 mile per hour. We're talking about basically nothing. It's neutral, like 0.9 difference in homers, 1.2 difference in runs. So the ballpark should play tonight as it traditionally has been as far as being favorable to hitters or pitchers. Slight downgrade for the Angels, which is interesting because it's 10 miles an hour out to center field, 67 degrees, 58 is a dew point. But in a really big sample, 295 games, Home runs have taken a slight hit. Wouldn't really concern me, just acknowledging it at 5.9%. Anything else worth acknowledging? Not really. Basically, a slight hit in KC, but really not much. Cincinnati, that's a different slate. Slight downgrade for what it's worth as far as homers, if you're concerning yourself with the Cardinals and the Reds. Throw your questions out in chat, by the way. We want to have you guys join the conversation, steer the conversation. What have we missed? What should we focus on? Why didn't we talk about so-and-so? Don't worry, we'll get to it. Crunch time comes in about a half hour or so. We're happy to answer whatever. This is more, you guys know by now, but this is the conversation, right? TJ, Crunch time, they have it easy. They got just, here, I like these 4 catchers. I like these 4 first basemen. That's simple. Like, let's go around the horn. But you have to have like a conversation and think, right? I don't know why I'm taking shots at Crunch time for no particular reason.
Here's what I'll say. I actually think the analysis role is tougher on Crunch Time, but the hosting role is definitely tougher on GrindersLive.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. I just wanted you to acknowledge how hard of a job
it is.
TJ.
Like I've had to jump in. Like I've hosted Crunch Time a lot more than I've had to host GrindersLive. I'll come in and do it sometimes here when you're away, but just due to the length of the show and the lack of kind of like specific format, hosting is definitely way tougher for GrindersLive. I do find analysis for Crunch Time. Now, having said that, if I'm Roth and I'm actually doing the weather report while I'm hosting, now that would level up the difficulty big time, but that's not something I got to do when I host Crunch Time. But the analysis role, just with like building your lineups as you're going and specific QQs you don't want to mess up people's lineups for, I actually find that one a little bit more not like difficult, but just like the pressure feels a little higher.
Yeah, and by the way, they're all useful. It was not like, it's certainly useful just to chime in and like to see, who are the top pitchers, who are the top first baseman, yada yada. All that stuff is useful for sure. We kind of neglected, or I kind of neglected. I'm talking about what a really hard job I have of steering the ship here. And guess what? I did a poor job steering the ship because we talked about Luis Castillo and how much went on roster Luis Castillo, but like SP2 for cash specifically. I think cash wise, if you're on DK SP2, I think it's Corbin Burns. Just get Castillo and Burns, especially the absence of Altuve, and it's really not hard to make that work. You can do that with Marlins and Mariners. Like, you can do that really easily with Marlins and Mariners. I just ran some optimals just for funsies, and you can do that with Marlins and Mariners and still get a one-off of a really big bat. If you want somebody like Shohei Ohtani in your cash lineup, still that's something you can make work. But would you agree as far as SP2 and cash? I know you're not playing cash, but if you were, you could certainly step into that role. Is it Castillo and Burns for you?
Yes, it would probably be Castillo and Burns for me. I wouldn't, if I had the extra salary and I was just plugging in all my guys and I had an extra K, I would definitely go up to Javier if I could. And then if I fell down to Ober, I wouldn't be, because I couldn't make a lineup that I liked with Burns. Like, I wouldn't hate that, but Burns would definitely be my first choice for like the cash / optimal SP2.
Yeah, how are you prioritizing? You talk about having 5 pitchers in your pool. You're running out 20 lineups today on DK. We talked about ownership. Let me give it a refresh, see if this changed. But last we saw was Castillo was getting like 63%, kind of a short slate. Luis Castillo, pretty clear the best pitcher. Whatever. If you want to put him in the same tier as guys like Burns and Javier. Of course, Burns in previous seasons has been better than Castillo. It seems like he's on his way back. I think he's on his way back. We'll see. The refresh here, we're getting 63% ownership on Castillo. On DK, 33% Javier, 30% Burns. Yeah, if you want to go Javier over Burns, but yeah, I think it's basically the same. Our projections actually have Burns higher for what it's worth, and he's cheaper. So that kind of checks out for me. And then Ober getting 21%. How are you prioritizing? Are you basically with the field? Is there somebody you're way over or way under when it comes to your shares of pitchers?
Because I'm only playing 5 of them, there's nobody that I'm really under on, I don't think. Like my lowest owned guy today is going to be Corbin Burns, but it's 25%, so I'm probably going to be pretty close to the field. I got 30% Javier, 35% Singer, 40% Ober, and 70% Castillo in my most recent build. Now, I would love to have a lot more Christian Javier and a lot more Corbin Burns and a lot less Ober and Singer. It's just, I really want to get to Atlanta and I really want to get to Miami. They're a little bit pricey. I want to get to a lot of J-Rod and Jared Kelenic and Cal Raleigh, and it gets a little bit pricey, and so that's why I'm getting to those SP2s as well. I want to get to Ohtani.
And you gave your favorite specific pitcher. Boss Bro is asking, if you're not playing Castillo, who will be your favorite? I know you kind of ran down a bunch you like. If you had to pick just one, who would it be?
Outside, so Castillo is my one, but if I'm trying to pick just one on DraftKings, I genuinely don't really have one. I guess for the price, maybe it would be Ober or Singer, just because they're nice and cheap. But I guess maybe if that's a FanDuel question, I'm just pulling up what those prices are over there as to who would I maybe pivot to if I'm not going with Luis Castillo on a one-pitcher site. And based on the prices over there, it would probably be Corbin Burns because he's much cheaper. And if it wasn't Corbin Burns, it would probably be Brady Singer.
I'm not playing that, I think, 300K, 100K to first on DK, which is like 15. I don't like it when it's all top-loaded like that. I'm out in that contest. But I think, again, if you want to be ambitious, you want to be goofy, you want to be squirrely, you want to shoot for, the 99 percentile outcome, I think Cabrera is pretty interesting for those kind of tournaments. I'm probably not going to do that in my single entry or my 3-entry max, but for a large field, a big chunk of money up top, pitcher that's not going to be heavily owned. Again, he's the most highest K rate on the slate. That's a cat we're hearing, correct? I think. TJ, there. Now I see it. Okay.
The cat was meowing, so I muted, and then he asked me about the cat.
I just got an extreme close-up of it. I got a good timing of.
Yeah, we finally did just get the Miami lineup. So we got Birdie, Arias, Soler, Cooper, De La Cruz, Segura, Wendell, Stallings, and Hampson.
Okay, so Hampson is in there. I think he was not anticipated. I believe we were expecting Edwards for what it's worth. Garrett it's a revenge game for him, isn't it? There you go.
Yeah, they said this guy's played in Coors before. Let's throw him in. There's also no Peyton Burdick.
Yeah, I don't think he's a person. I think is what happened. They realized that's not a person that exists.
Does not exist. Yes, that's
does
fair.
Not exist.
That's reasonable.
We did not have Segura projected in the pool. Segura, by the way, another one of those players who has yet to homer this season. That was an off-season signing. Gene Segura, off-season signing, no homers. Benintendi, off-season signing, no homers, and Jose Abreu. Last I checked, all those guys, 0.
Should I even add Segura and Hampson to my pool?
Are they really cheap? They're probably really cheap.
Yeah, Segura is 2.9. Hampson is 3.2. I don't think I necessarily need Hampson, but Segura I don't mind at that price.
Are these guys going to get played? Like, how much do you need that salary?
I don't know. I've actually found myself like it's not even so much needing salary. It's just like you look at a position like third base today, and it's like I'm either spending up for Devers, Muncy, Riley, which is tough to do. But then if I get below Suarez, it's like, oh, there's all of a sudden nothing anymore because the slate is so small. So it's like if you're just throwing in a guy like that into your stack, I think it's fine.
By the way, you mentioned Riley 4.9 on DK, but he's 2.9 on FanDuel, which seems really, really cheap for Riley. I'm not playing cash over there, but if I was, I'd probably consider that. Austin Riley just seems like way too cheap for a 2.9K player. You mentioned Muncy, by the way. Muncy's another guy. It's just sort of like is going to be a 7-game slate, whatever. People are going to have some Dodger stacks, but he doesn't make a lot of sense math wise. Like optimals are not going to spit him out unless you're running Dodger stacks. Was Muncy one of those guys you said? I feel like you didn't.
Yeah, I mentioned him as well. He's in my pool. In my most recent build, he didn't even make any lineups, which I don't love. I would like to get Muncy in a lineup. I want to have at least 1 or 2 Dodger stacks in my 20-man build. So he's somebody that I'm going to make sure to get in at least a lineup or 2 in of 20.
Several people are asking about Singer in chat. Let's just kind of like talk about Singer. He's the cheapie on TK. He's 7K. It's an SP2. The K rate's not spectacular, 19.4%. Probably a little too high as far as walks at 7.8%. He can get ground balls. 42%, not terrible. Of course, he's facing the Detroit teams. That's not very good. What is the sales pitch for Singer outside of like he's facing Detroit, or that is the sales pitch and he's cheap?
He was a lot better last year than he has been this year. He's been a little bit better the last 2 games than he was previously, but more so than anything else, it's Detroit, and he's in a price tier without very many other players, and so he allows you to get to some lineups you can't with the expensive pitchers.
Is that the cat again? What kind of shenanigans? Did you feed the cat today?
He just jumped down from the window up here.
Does the cat know there's a podcast going on? You think the cat has like a sixth sense of some sort? Or, or no?
So here's the thing, is the dogs aren't in here, and we also have a foster dog right now, and he's away in the kennel. And so ever since we've had this foster dog, anytime that I'm somewhere where all the dogs aren't, he comes to me for some attention.
Fair enough. Understood. You said, cats, I have a history of cats too, but typically it's their own sort of like on their time, they'll come to you. If you want them to come, they won't necessarily come, but when they're good and ready, and usually when you're busy is when they want to all of a sudden interact.
Brian C. in chat says that cat has zero respect for the current situation. Absolutely right. Listen, you can hear him again. He's going. He doesn't give a damn about this show. I do. I'm focused. I'm not going to let him deter me. But this cat doesn't care about this show one bit. He just wants some scratches.
Playing the role of the Green Goblin over there.
Yeah, exactly. 5 likes away, from Spidey Bomb number 3. So let's hit that like button, and we got almost 500 people watching now. So we will easily be able to get a 4th Spidey Bomb, I think, getting up here to 400 or to 200 likes, not to 400 likes. But Dean, why don't you kind of take us to our next topic? And by the time you throw it back to me next, I got the next Spidey Bomb.
Well, I got a question.
Oh, I remember it already. I figured it out. I got it. I found the odds. So I usually don't like going to Coors for a Spidey Bomb because it just feels a little bit too obvious.
Yeah.
But it's a small slate, and Brian Dela Cruz really isn't picking up all that much ownership. And he's plus 440 to hit a home run over on FanDuel. So considering how tight home run odds have been this year, plus 440 is a pretty good odds for him, even if he wasn't in Coors. And so Brian Dela Cruz is Spidey Bomb and number 3. And if we can get up to 200 likes, I'll make sure I got a nice sneaky one for the 4th Spidey Bomb.
Eric in chat, Eric Legs, Riley or Suarez, they're both 2,900 on FanDuel. I like them both, man. Who do you prefer? Like, I think the cop-out answer is like whichever one is your stack. If you're making a stack, there was no specifics as far as if that's cash, if that's tournaments. And by the way, if you're asking questions, by all means, please, the more details, the better. It makes it easier to answer questions. Let us know where you're shopping, DK, FanDuel, if it's for cash, if it's for tournaments, if it's single entry, large field, that kind of stuff does matter. I like both Riley and Suarez, and they're both the same price. And my cop-out answer would be whoever's in your stack. Like if you're making a Seattle stack or making an Atlanta stack, complete that stack or build on it. But what's your answer?
It feels so weird to say, but I actually think I'd probably go Suarez.
This is another good question. I like this one, and you kind of like referenced it. Well, okay, so going a one-off catcher on DK, I can afford any of them. Who is the best catcher? I think it's a really good slate for catchers. I like the catchers today. It's a small slate, but you got Elias Diaz. We talked about like in Sean Murphy, Will Smith. He cracked that Dodger lineup, right? I assume he's still in there unless I missed it. Yes. You got the big dumper, Kyle Rowley. It's Sal Perez. Sure. We're not afraid of Michael Lorenz. And I really like this catcher slate. And on FanDuel is where sometimes people just kind of forget about him, especially the hand builders. But you can have any one. We're talking about max points, and I guess we don't know what kind of stack we're working with as an a la carte piece. Let's assume. Tell me your favorites amongst all of the catchers available as a one-off.
Mr. Spidey Bomb himself, Murphy number 1, followed by Cal Raleigh number 2, and Will Smith number 3.
Yeah, I think Mlb Murphy as well. He's been awesome this year, and Oakland kind of sort of just like threw him away. If I remember correctly, it wasn't like a big deal. I think it was a trade, right? It wasn't a free agent. I think it was a trade in the offseason. Dating back to last season, the ISO's 181 versus righties. I think it's distinctly higher this year. Yeah, 283, which is a monster number. Obviously, a sample a little bit smaller. We're talking about 112 at bats, 390 WOBA as well. Just higher ISO than Acuna, even higher than is it high? No, it's not higher than Olsen. Matt Olsen, the highest on that team versus righties. Not terribly surprising, but that 1 through 3 is obviously really imposing. Riley kind of sneaky, by the way, for what it's worth. I don't know if it's unlucky stuff. I haven't kind of dug into his bat at ball data, but versus righties this year, Pretty small ISO. The power has been kind of subdued, but I'm not running away from that. It sounds like you both like Riley anyways. Sneaky stacks. Somebody was talking about Houston. I saw Houston thrown out there. No Altuve is a negative. Facing Corbin Burns is a negative. The back half of that lineup is a negative. If you want a one-off or like mini stack like Alvarez and Tucker, sure. Abreu is really rough. Like one of these days he's going to homer. And, if you want to martingale that, it's going to take you a while to get there, I think. I don't know what to do with the Astros. I'm probably not playing them outside of maybe one-offing an Alvarez or a Tucker, but I'll be under on the Astros.
Yeah, I actually don't have any of them in my pool. I know that it's stupid to X out Alvarez and Tucker always, especially on a small slate. It's just without me playing too many lineups today, only going 20 instead of the usual 150. I don't really feel that same need to get to them when there's so many other outfielders that I just adore today.
Mr. Richards talking about Lorenzen for MME on DK. You're not getting there. You're running 20 lineups. I'm not making enough lineups to consider it either. How many lineups do you have to make to consider playing Michael Lorenzen at pitcher?
If I was running 150, he might be in my pool as like a guy to get 5 to 10% of, but that would be it.
Yeah, that's basically where I'm at. I'm just doing a refresh. I'm curious where his ownership is. It's probably around 10% or so. It doesn't feel very necessary to me. Let's see. His ownership changed. Lorenzen, we're talking about 5-6%. I'd probably roster. I was going to say Houck in front of him. I would roster Cabrera in front of him. Cabrera's coming in at 4%, and I would roster Cabrera, and he's basically the same price. And take your chances. Now, if Cabrera's not throwing strikes, go to bed because he tends to walk people, but he also tends to strike out people. Andrew says that Salvi's going yard. Yeah, it's a really fun catcher slate. People like the punt catcher. There's actually an opportunity cost there today, I believe. I don't know if it's going to be Salvi Perez or if it's going to be Murphy. Maybe it's Diaz. Maybe it's Smith. Maybe it's two of those guys. Maybe it's a big dumper. But I think at least one of these guys has a big day. You talked about how much you like Murphy, but are you making a priority to like not necessarily punt a catcher, or is just kind of wherever your lineups happen to take you?
Wherever my lineups happen to take me. So my most recent build, I think, has been the one that I like the best out of anything I've put together so far. And I think it's going to be what I stick with regardless here, and maybe just try and do some hand build adjustments to some of them since there's only 20. But I have 35% Cal Raleigh, 25% Sean Murphy, and then 10% everybody else. Will Smith, Salvador Perez, Jacob Stallings, Elias Diaz, and Matt Thaiss. And those are the last, and that's the entirety of my pool.
Usually around this time, if you're tuning in right now, you want the old around the horn favorite players, position by position. We want Roth to host it. Obviously, a little bit later as far as the slate. The slate starts at 7:20. Crunch time will be a thing. It's coming on in about 20 minutes or so. They're going to go around the horn, favorite players, position by position, favorite stacks, answering all your questions in chat. Of course, the questions in the Discord, they are prioritized. If you're asking in the YouTube, we're happy to answer those as well. As many that we can knock out before we yield to crunch time. Let's see. Spidey bombs so far. Mamba wants you to recap the Spidey bombs. What do you have today as far as who's gone yard, who may go yard, and how many more until we knock out one more for the people?
So all you got to do is check that bottom of that screen. Steve's got them rolling for you guys there. We got almost 550 people watching here, so 25 more likes, and we got the fourth Spidey bomb. I'm going to be honest, if we can get up to 250, we got a fifth Spidey bomb for you guys. That would
You're just winging the last couple. You don't have that many
tie the record. I bet 10 different players today in various round robins, so I got Spidey bombs on deck, ready for the people that Spidey told me about. And we are 25 likes away from our next one as well. We've had Jared Kelenic, Sean Murphy, Brian Dela Cruz.
When you're doing your round robins, you're not doing it like 9 away, or you're doing it by 2s, 3s, and 4s. What are you doing it by?
Repeat that start. I'm doing what by 2, 3? Are you talking dollar amounts or?
No. You're talking about. You said like round robin as far as how many.
Yeah.
You're doing it by 2 away, 3 away, 4 away. How many different variations are you doing? I'm curious.
I'll do combos of 2s through, if this, depending on the slate and the amount of people I pick, like I'll do it all the way up to like 7 or 8 guys. Try and do the big win. But today it's all the way up to 5.
Okay.
5-man parlay, but like they're $1 on each of them, that kind of thing. So like I'll do my bigger doubles and triples, and then when we get up to the 5, 6, 7s, it's like, well, I'm doing 100 different combos. Let's just do 50 cents to $1 of each, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and if your core hits, you're having yourself a good day for sure. Have you had a nice
like,
a big hit? Was like 3 for 4 or something like that? Anything interesting? Or 4 to 5?
I had a 4-man parlay on Saturday, so that was like $500 or $600. And then been very on just last weekend, I think it was. We were like, if one of Nolan Gorman or Will Smith would have hit a home run, I would have won like $30,000. Unfortunately, just didn't quite get it.
All right, do load up your questions there in the YouTube. Kindly hit that like button as well. Again, you hit the like button enough, we'll get another Spidey Bomb for the people. 3-Run Shot wants to know, this is DraftKings, a large field tournament, SP2. You like Burns or Morton?
Burns or Morton? Burns.
So Nick is asking Kirilloff a significant pinch hit risk. They would probably want to avoid left on left. We don't know who's coming in after Rabia, but we think it might be Minaya. So maybe. I'm curious what the bat says, but I don't know if the bat has like an assumption as to who's coming in. So I don't know if the bat can surmise.
Do we know they're still doing that? Because like Kirilloff's got a 265. Or no, sorry, that's still against the righties. That's why, my bad. They didn't switch to Minaya on the plate IQ. Yeah. So even it's only 9 plate attempts, but they got to let this guy ride. He's got a 375 ISO and a 60% hard hit rate. He's just going out there and hitting the ball hard against whoever. I'm
curious what if the bat is a significant pinch hit rate. I'm jumping to it right now. Do support Derek Carty in the bats, obviously. Let's see. I'm buying some time. I'm getting there. Home run data. By the way, umpire data, we have an extreme hitters umpire in Atlanta, looks like. I assume, well, you like the Braves as is. You don't like them any less now with that knowledge. Let's see. Trying to find the old pinch hits percentage. It's taking me a second to scroll to it. I'm just saying words now. Why can't I find it? Fill some time for me, TJ. Give me a second as I'm terribly incompetent.
We are at 200 likes right now, so that is absolutely perfect timing. I promised you a sneakier one once we got to 200 likes, and so let's get it up to 250, people. Let's get a 5th one. Make it a nice parlay. Let's make some money tonight. And our sneaky Spidey Bomb with 200 likes here is going to be Tristan Casas for Boston. I think they're a somewhat interesting sneaky stack today. I don't have a lot of them, but you can get some cheap players to pair with Devers, and one of them being Tristan Casas, and I think he's going to go yard tonight.
This one's not surprising. Moniak leading off today for the Angels is the most likely to get pinch hit for at 35%. We've seen him get pinch hit for several times, and your boy Julien is also a 30% risk. McKinstry at 30% as well. Julien, also he's a lefty, right? If Minaya comes in, maybe, possibly, he gets the hook. We were asking specifically about Kirilloff, I believe, right? So he's not – I'm scrolling down. He's not like in at least 20 or 25%. This stuff could change as more information comes out, but as of right now, it does not seem terribly high. Wendell at 15% for the Marlins. I'm trying to see any other Marlins that might be of note. Let's see. Wendell – Hampson 12% too. I guess that's the other one that could be possible at risk as far as getting the old hook there. If you don't want to worry about guys getting pinch hit for, hey, go ahead and display on Stat Hero. Stat Hero, unique fantasy sports platform. You guys already know about Stat Hero. You know it. You love it. It allows users to compete against the house instead of against other players. You're not playing against TJ or anybody that's hanging out in the chat. You're not playing against me. The Searing 12 contest, that contest is over, but the Searing 15 contest for the NBA playoffs and the Searing 20 contest for MLB Pick'em, that's just getting started. Join this free-to-play contest and win. Start your streak. Keep your streak alive by playing each and every day. You build your streak up. You win prizes with consecutive wins, including swag, RG Premium, and cash prizes. $10,000 first prize for the Searing 15 winner. $20,000 first prize for the Searing 20. Use promo code GRINDERS, that's GRINDERS, GRINDERS, for a $250 deposit bonus up to 50 50% deposit bonus up to $250. Check that out there on Stat Hero. Appreciate them sponsoring the show. Casas percentage with Turner starting. Does Casas have a big number as far as getting pinch hit for? Let's see. And again, this stuff does change the closer you get to lock, but Casas, the all or nothing home run hitter there for Boston. Just trying to see what his number would be as far as pinch hit risk. Don't see it. It's taking me at 5%. There you go. Kirk Casale's coming up, but he's playing in a different game. Apparently, if you're playing that slate, he's got a pretty decent chance to get the pinch hit as well. And yes, I did butcher that read. My apology. Suarez is going yard tonight, apparently, according to L21 in chat. 2 times for Eugenio Suarez. Kirilloff or Solano? Who do you prefer? Jose wants to know. Kirilloff or Solano?
Oh, Kirilloff by a lot.
That's where I'm at as well. We have a 2v2, and there's no specifics. Doesn't say if it's cash or if it's tournaments or if it's DK or if it's Fanduel. But Jeff wants to know Freddie Freeman revenge game and Bailey Ober versus Javier and Prato. All right, I'm yielding to you on that one. Freeman back in Atlanta, Bailey Ober, and then Christian Javier and Prato, who I believe is leading off.
I guess probably Javier and Prado.
Yeah, we saw worth noting that Bobby Witt took a tumble in that lineup for Kansas City. He's down to the 6th spot. They also kicked Hunter Dozier off the team. They designated him for assignment. Kansas City as Prado, Pasquantino, Perez, Melendez, Massey, Witt, Lopez, JBJ, and Garcia. Man, Lopez and JBJ next to each other, that is just woof. I think Garcia actually has a little bit of power, but imagine playing Lopez and JBJ. There's your mush of the day. Neither one of those guys have the ability to hit the ball out of the ballpark at this point in their careers. Hey, we got 10 minutes or so until the crunch time jumps in before we have no more questions in chat unless I missed them. If I did, my apologies. Kind of jumping back and forth between a couple things. Let's play the stack game. Put a number on it. 5, you love it. 1, you hate it. 3, you're kind of wishy-washy. Maybe some follow-up questions. Let's put a number on the Colorado Rockies.
2.
Yeah. If you're going to play the Rockies, who's your favorite Rocky?
McMahon.
Bryant? Yeah. I mean, I'm curious. Are people going to play them?
I think so. Like, maybe not. Like, I don't think anybody is going to be ridiculous chalk today, but like, yeah, people are playing them.
Let's see what we have as far as the ownership. We have 15% on Diaz.
Well, let's give it a 3. We'll give him a 3.
10% Bryant, 10% Profar, 10% Blackman. Yeah, otherwise not much. John wants to know Yordan, or Acuna. I will take Acuna amongst those two.
Acuna.
Let's see. Mini game stack with Kansas City and Detroit. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I got no problem with that at all.
Let's see. Put a number on the Seattle stack. All encompassing, understanding that they're going to be fairly popular as well. Obviously facing Oakland. Where are you at as far as the Mariners?
5.
That is your favorite stack, correct?
Yes.
We are still we got an official Boston lineup as well. Verdugo, Yoshida, Turner, Devers, Duran up to the 5 spot. Casas in the 6. Valdez has been smashing, right? And am I thinking of somebody else? No, I'm thinking of Pablo Reyes. And typically he doesn't play against righties, but he's been playing pretty well. Ray is batting 8th, and then Connor Wong at catcher. How about Boston? Where do you have Boston against Jaime Barria, who's like not somebody I'm afraid of at all?
Yeah, I like Boston as a tournament stack today. I think they're pretty sneaky. I think they got some upside. Barria looked pretty good in his first outing, but he's also not going to be throwing a bunch of pitches today. So I like Boston. I think they're a strong, sneaky stack.
What is his projected? Is he not stretched out, Barria, at all?
I don't think so. I think his projected pitch count was like 60, 65.
Okay. I'm not thinking of rostering. I was just thinking, I think I like him. I like him being out there. It's just kind of, as opposed to like the mixed bag of whatever you're going to get in the bullpen. Yeah, we're seeing like 65 or so pitches is probably his projected number. I would hope be more, but not that I'm afraid of the Angels bullpen, but yeah, dating back to last season, 41% fly balls versus lefties. A lot of lefties in this lineup, a 206 ISO versus lefties as well. So he gives them a fair bit of power to lefties. Obviously, that Boston side, starting with Devers, lots of power there. You like Devers as a one-off? Do you have a favorite one-off in this slate?
I do like Devers as a one-off. My favorite one-off would probably be like J-Rod, maybe Jorge Soler. But yeah, I like the outfield and first base are kind of where I'm looking to mostly get my one-offs today. But I'd say Devers is definitely my favorite outside of those positions.
Can I say, as a counter thought process, like generally speaking, this isn't always true, and I understand why. I understand why you're saying J-Rod and why you're saying Soler, but I've heard people say, and I understand this thought process as well, like your one-offs, you don't necessarily want them to be like the super popular play on the popular stack, and that's Soler and J-Rod. You know what I mean? But you don't care.
I mean, we're projecting J-Rod at 12, I have the bat projections up right now, but J-Rod is projected for 12% ownership and Soler
Really?
17. So it's nothing. And like, that's the same as Acuna, De La Cruz, Hernandez is in the same range. Ohtani's in the same range. So like, we're not really getting that much concentrated ownership today. I wouldn't like a guy if he was 30% owned. But if they're really only going to be in the 10 to 20% range, I don't really care.
So most popular hitters right now, and it's different, obviously, other sports like basketball. If there's if there's a clear guy that's getting 20 extra minutes and we weren't expecting, his ownership's going to be like 80% or so, and his success rate's also going to be close to there as well. The biggest, most heavily owned player, we haven't talked about Birdie leading off for the Marlins, 21%. That's the biggest number on DK, 4.5K, not a flat-out punt. Nice price on Fanduel as well. Good, the wheels are better than the stick. If he gets on base, he can snag a bag. He also, if he hits one in the hole, he can get 2 or 3 out of it. 21% for Birdie. Teoscar Hernandez in the 7 hole, still getting 20% ownership. Zach McKinstry leading off for Detroit at 19%. There's J-Rod at 18%. Ownership number is a little bit different than what you're talking about as far as, the bat, but essentially similar. Is there any of those, like a rise at 16%? And like, that's the thing at baseball is like generally play you want to play. It's different when you're talking about single entry, 3-entry max stuff because the more popular plays get condensed. Birdie will be more popular than 21% in those kind of contests, but you're playing large field stuff. Mostly just play what you want to play. I think that's kind of like the point you were making, I guess, which I agree with. I thought it'd be higher, to be honest. But I'm also thinking about like single entry, 3-entry max. So it's like a different conversation almost. Mm-hmm. Anything amongst those first 5 or 6 players I ran off that you would intentionally go under for whatever reason? Birdie, Teoscar, McKinstry, J-Rod, Arise, Wendell?
Maybe, as much as it pains me, Teoscar, just because, like, he's batting 7th. That's really the only reason. But still, that's scary because he just gets a hold of 1 against the lefty and it's absolutely gone. So maybe Teoscar just because he's batting 7th.
Okay, Brendan's got a 3v3 in DK Cash. Burns, Ohtani, Stallings. It's tricky because I really like the catchers today, and I know Stallings is in cores, but he stinks. So Burns, Ohtani, Stallings, Javier Casas, and Sal Perez.
All right, the second one. Was that cash or tournament?
That was cash.
Then you got to go the first one.
Burns, Ohtani, Stallings?
Yeah.
I think that's correct. That's the correct answer, too. Bryce wants to know your favorite Boston player. That's Devers, correct?
Yeah.
Joseph has Renfroe and Ohtani versus Soler and De La Cruz. So 2 Marlins, Soler, De La Cruz versus Renfroe and Ohtani. No context as far as tournaments, cash, whatever it is. But what do you have as far as that?
Soler and De La Cruz.
Yeah. King of Smack, 4-man Atlanta stack with Ohtani and Renfroe, Casas, and Kelnick with Singer. Just there's the full lineup. I believe he's got a couple of those Spidey bombs in there, if I'm not mistaken.
You go eyes closed and you hope that Singer survives. But yeah, with that, I don't mind that at all.
We did not mention Betts today. We mentioned the Dodgers kind of in passing, but Betts is one of those stars that's kind of ignored a little bit. But like for sure, you can always play Betts. Morton, pretty good pitcher, but it doesn't mean he can't get to him on the road in the one spot. Pretty good position to get 5 ABs, which most players will not get today. I like his FanDuel price at 3.8. I would just say he's a little bit cheaper than he should be. Your thoughts as far as Betts and just the Dodgers in general?
Yeah, like I think the Dodgers are a pretty interesting team today because they're facing a good pitcher, but it's just they're the Dodgers. And so that's one of the things I'm noticing in Lineup HQ. Each time I try a new set of lineups and try and make something work, I actually end up with a lot less Dodger stacks than I would have hoped for. And so with that, I'm going to have to go in there and manually get some more, but the Dodgers just always have such upside, and especially on a small slate like this, I definitely want to get to them.
Eric wants to know if you can play Chase Anderson on FanDuel. You can. I wouldn't. That I would not advise that.
It's a big no for me.
Nick wants to know Julien or Valdez. Valdez for Boston or Julien. I guess that's a punt. Which do you prefer amongst those two? You're kind of biased on this, though. Julien's your guy, right?
I would just rather go with the guy leading off in general.
Yeah. I mean, he does have that pinch hit risk for what it's worth. And if a lefty comes in, he might get the hook. Who knows? And I'm not sure if they would give him that right away because we don't know how long Barria's going. It would be nice to know who's coming in afterwards, but we'll find out, I suppose, maybe when it's too late. Another question or two before we bring the Crunch Time crew in. We got
they're already
Keith
here, and it was the perfect time to be like, yeah, we don't know who's coming in after Brebbia, but you know who's coming in after us. It's Luch, it's Tim, it's Keith, and here they are for some MLB Crunch Time.
Luch, what's up? Playing the role of Chief Mineralogist Kevin Roth. It's the Luch. Happy to have you on the show. Are you playing out the string this week? Oh, yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag, right?
What's that?
It's kind of a mixed bag. You're here today. Welcome. Are you going to be here all week or no?
Thank you. No, I don't believe so. We'll see who pinch hits for me tomorrow. I'm not sure who it is.
All right, you're basically going to be Alex Kirilloff today. You're going to put in a day, and then tomorrow you're going to check out, I suppose, when the lefty comes in. We also have the hater of fun, TastefulTides, Tim, Keith Eyster as well.
Hater of fun.
Yeah, thanks for watching the show. Thanks for supporting it. This is a gimmick
Luch.
now.
Thanks, Luch.
No problem. I was just going to say how happy the GrindersLive must have been with 2 Heat fans as the anchors because shout out to the Miami Heat. I don't know how they keep doing it, but they're doing it.
Wait, who else is a Heat fan?
Oh, it's not TJ? No. Oh,
No, that's Dre.
He's Canadian. Have you met TJ?
yeah, but he's a Saints fan. I knew it was something like weird. Like I knew
I'm
one
a
of the
Raptor
teams
fan.
was out, right?
Andre likes the Heat. I don't know if you're confusing them two, but Andre likes the Heat. Otherwise, nobody else as far as I know. But
Come on, man. I thought we were friends.
And I think
Sorry.
doesn't Andre like the Saints too, which is sort of weird because
He does.
both
And
you
so
guys like
that's where the mix up directly comes in.
No,
Well,
we're giving him
congrats,
an
team.
out. He just
Congrats,
goofed. We're not, it's completely ridiculous. They're playing with the house's money, and don't sleep on the Panthers either. Tim may besmirch them all he wants, but the Florida Panthers they're going to go to the Cup and they're winning the whole stupid thing. But yeah. Anything else before we step aside and get out of here, TJ? Because we have to make some lineups. Crunch time has to start. Anything else for the people? Any more Spidey bombs?
Nope, we fell 30 likes short of our 5th Spidey bomb, but I can't be too mad because we got 220 likes, but there's over 600 of you watching, so let's keep hitting that like button for this wonderful Crunch Time crew.
There you go. Myself and TJ, we do appreciate y'all watching the first portion now, the FanDuel sponsor Crunch Time, starring TastefulTides. You got Keith Eyster as well, and of course, we have the Miami Heat fan that's going to be hosting it, right? Go ahead, Miami Heat fan.
Yes. Salty Sixers fan here. Jimmy Butler's not in uniform, and I think about it every day. You know, Tobias Harris got traded to the Sixers like 4 years ago or something like that on my birthday, and I was happy at the moment. And turns out that was the worst birthday present ever. Keith Eyster, I feel bad that we didn't get a formal intro for you. But it's good to see you again, my friend. What's up?
Good to see you as well. Fun little slate here, a little bit shorter than usual, but plenty of pivots. We got Coors back, so have to make some decisions there. Solid pitching slate, despite only being 7 games. We've got some solid aces here, so should be a fun slate.
Definitely. It is always a fun slate when Coors is on tap. Let's see. Yeah, FanDuel Sportsbook. If you're not signed up and you're in a legal sports betting state, what are you doing? Got a nice risk-free bet over there. So check out FanDuel Sportsbook if you are not signed up yet and you're eligible in a legal state. Check out Scores and Odds as well. We got some good stuff over there at Scores and Odds. My two friends right here are frequently on Scores and Odds as well. I know Keith has a Brandon Williamson prop in that he got a nice number on early. So, by the way, how weird was that, guys, that he shoved at Coors in his major league debut 5 days ago?
Yeah, really interested to see how this plays out here today because his AAA numbers were atrocious. And then he comes up and he dominates in Coors Field. So obviously a pretty weak Rockies offense there, but it's still Coors Field. That was unexpected to be sure. So we'll see how he fares today. We definitely got some closing line value on that prop that I posted. It moved down. He's 3.5 strikeouts now, and I got the under 4.5 at near even money. So good closing line value there for sure. We'll see how he performs. He's one of the earlier games though.
Tasteful Tides. Let's start with pitching. And, we got a chalky Luis Castillo, and, I guess it's rightful chalk, but what's your take on Luis Castillo? What are you doing with him tonight?
Yeah, so I'm still one of those people that still plays cash games. So Luis Castillo is definitely my first pitcher in. He's definitely my SP1 today. There's definitely different routes that you can go in tournaments, whether it be single entry or large field. But I think that Castillo is really the best pitcher on the slate. He gets an unbelievable matchup against Oakland. There are some big bats that you need to consider. So salary is kind of a thing. They actually did price up Miami better than they normally. They priced up Coors better than they have been. So there are some premium bats that we want to spend up for. But Castillo is definitely my SP1. SP2 is when things get a little bit more complicated. Corbin Burns is kind of, he's struggled this year, and he has not been the same guy. But I don't see any problems really under the hood. So he could be a pivot on FanDuel at 9,700, or he can be a cash game play on DK at 9,000. The big decision that I'm having as a DK cash player is if I want to go Javier or Burns as my SP2. That's really the big decision that's kind of hampering me currently, and I'm still kind of figuring it out in real time. My lean is to go to Burns, but if I can really comfortably get that extra $1,000, I'm going to play Javier. So it's really those three guys that are my A, B, and C. And that's really the same for me in terms of tournaments. Brady Singer is a really, really, really good punt on both sites. I'm playing a single entry on FanDuel right now where I have Singer as my pitcher because I just want to pay up for all the bats. You're definitely giving up some potential opportunity cost by going with Singer. But he gets a really good matchup against Detroit, and he's very, very affordable. I'm sure Keith will talk about some other pitchers, but I also have interest in Bailey Ober. But he would fall to probably my fifth favorite pitcher.
Yeah, Keith, there's no Jose Altuve in the lineup. Does that bump up Corbin Burns on your list?
It does. I had interest in Burns even when I thought Altuve was going to be back in there. It's been a rough go for Mr. Burns this season, but when he's right, he's the best pitcher on this slate. You look at, he obviously had the Cy Young year. He's been over 30% strikeouts his entire career. So not sure what's been going on with him up until this point this season. I don't think that he just drastically fell off a cliff like he is, like his numbers show that he has this season. The matchup against Houston, I'm not as concerned about that. Houston's been a team that we've avoided attacking in DFS for many years now. But this lineup, especially with Altuve out of there today, is not overwhelming. You've got some low strikeout bats at the top, but once you get to Jose Abreu in the fifth spot, you've got guys who are striking out at 25% or better in the 5 through 9 spots in this Houston order. So I think there's plenty of upside here for Corbin Burns. I would also have Castillo number 1 on my list just because of the matchup. Oakland strikes out more than anybody in baseball against right-handed pitching. So Castillo is in a great spot. But Burns, I have on the same level as Castillo today. It's not comfortable if he's going to be a mid 25% or so strikeout pitcher the rest of the year. Not a great spot for him, but I just think that he can get back to that 30% strikeout rate. Houston is not an offense that concerns me. Their two best hitters are left-handed. He has that cutter that he really neutralizes lefty power with. So Tucker and Alvarez being the biggest threats in the lineup, he should be able to keep them under control today. And then I mentioned the strikeouts at the bottom. So give me Burns right with Castillo. I probably end up even with the field or slightly under on Castillo, just so I can go pretty significantly over the field on Corbin Burns. I've got Christian Javier right there with him. Like awesome strikeout stuff. Obviously, the lefties do concern me a little bit in this park. It's a good park for lefty home runs. So guys like Rowdy Tellez, even Christian Yelich, who's an extreme ground ball hitter, gets a matchup against an extreme fly ball pitcher in Christian Javier. So pretty good profile there for the Milwaukee lefties. I still think Javier could go out there and strike out 10 today. He's in my pool for sure. I'll try to get as much of him as I can, but Burns the priority, and Castillo with Javier coming in pretty clearly third. Cheaper stuff on DK Bailey Ober's price. I am interested in that. Brady Singer, as Tim mentioned, I love going down there. He has a great matchup as well against Detroit. We've been picking on Detroit for years. Singer's had a rough go of it as well, but that price tag in this matchup, I'm totally comfortable being over the field on him. Edward Cabrera is interesting to me. He actually has the highest strikeout rate on the entire slate at over 30% this season. I don't think Colorado's a very good offense. Obviously, the ballpark is scary. As a large field tournament dart, though, I'm on board with a little bit of Edward Cabrera today. And then Michael Lorenzen, we were talking about him behind the scenes a little bit earlier today, and you noticed some things with his pitch mix. He's kind of relying primarily on his four-seam fastball, which has actually been really good this season. And he's cut out his curveball, and I forget what the other pitch was, but he's primarily fastball slider at this point. If you want to speak a little bit on Lorenzen, it's a good matchup for him against Kansas City as well.
Yeah, I mean, it just sounds disgusting, but maybe Detroit has a decent little analytical department. I think it was his cutter, curveball and cutter. He completely cut them out the last 3 starts. I don't know. I mean, like, his advanced stuff wasn't all fantastic during all those games, so I'm not sure, but it's just an interesting note. Just like Corbin Burns had his highest curveball, like he threw his curveball 32% of the time, I think, last game, which was his highest mark since the beginning of last season. So I don't know what that means. It's just interesting. Maybe he's trying to figure out like some stuff. I don't know. His velocity is fine. So Altuve out definitely helps. I mean, on FanDuel, as you guys can see, I know we're spending a lot of time on pitching here, but I think it's necessary when there's one total chalk pitcher.
I think pitching is really important today. So it's good that you know what I mean? Like pitching, there's a lot of pitchers today on such a small slate.
Yeah, like Tim, you can get awesome ownership on anybody not named Castillo on FanDuel. And the big difference, like the biggest difference between sites is probably Bailey Ober's price. And also, like, this is going to be a very telling matchup with Bailey Ober because he's been much better, since he's been pitching this season. But if you look back at his stuff dating back to the beginning of 2022, gross fly ball rate, the K rates were down, the whole 9. I mean, whether this is going to be whether you're what side of the fence you're on Bailey Ober tonight, I think, because you can make a strong case for the platoon hitting Giants, and we'll get the bats. But this is going to be, a pretty tough matchup for Ober, and I think it'll just be fun to see like where he's at this point of the season.
I just want to say something real quick from a macro point of view. There's a lot of two-way games that I call them on tonight's slate, whether it be Colorado or Cabrera, like Keith mentioned, or you could stack Colorado or you could play Cabrera. You could stack the Tigers or play Singer. Like there's a lot of different ways that you can get exposure to games in your GPP portfolio tonight. I could see a lot of different scenarios happening. So this is a really, really good tournament slate for such a small slate.
Nice. Well, I think we're reading the room and the people want to hear pitching, so I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah.
And thanks, Alex. What's up? Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you, my guy. And I think Cabrera is another one that you're like, oh, no way. But so like he gets in trouble when he walks hitters, which control's been an issue. And I mean, let's be real. I know it's Coors Field. I know it's elevation. The lineups, Miami and Colorado aren't good. Like they're not good. They're just playing at Coors Field. So like I'm not having any Chase Anderson, that's for sure. But I totally get the Cabrera look, and it makes me a little bit more comfortable not playing some of this egregious Miami stuff. Like I don't always do this, but I'm okay with one-offing Soler because I think he is the one Marlin that can totally flip this slate upside down. But I typically don't play a lot of cores, and more often times than not, it doesn't treat me well. But I think today I'm okay with it.
If Cabrera doesn't walk people, he's got a massive ceiling in this game. I really believe that. I really like Keith's call. I didn't know what Keith was going to say. I didn't want to say anything about Cabrera because I don't play multiple teams, so there's no way that I was going to play him. But if I'm playing like 20 teams, I'd have him in one. You know what I mean? Like if I got 150, maybe I got him in 5. It's like because he has a humongous K rate, and this Colorado team is garbage. But this is Coors. It's a park that suppresses strikeouts. He's a high walk guy, but if his control is good, I think he could really explode on the slate.
I guess it's just a tougher pill to swallow on FanDuel because
FanDuel's different.
Getting the quality start with him, is a little concerning. Go ahead, Keith. I know you want to jump in.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to agree with. I think that's a DK only play. It's the price savings that you get. Like, obviously, I want to spend up for one of the top 3 as much as I can. We haven't talked about Charlie Morton at all. He's not in play for me today just because of the matchup against the Dodgers. I'm actually on some Dodgers bats here. Just looking at some underlying stuff for Morton, feel like we could get some regression there. He's been pretty lucky with home run to fly ball variants. But going back to Cabrera, like the price savings allows you to get up to a premium stack like Atlanta or the Dodgers, who I like both of them a lot. Feel like they're a little bit under owned today. Miami is priced up if you want to go there. I'm going to personally be underweight on them just because they're not a great offense. Of course, it's a massive ballpark upgrade going into Colorado, but I really like premium offenses like the Dodgers and the Braves. Saving the money down to somebody like Cabrera lets you get up to those premium bats where a lot of the guys in the stacks are over 5K on DK, over 4K on FanDuel.
Yeah, I don't have any Charlie Morton right now because I don't have a ton of volume tonight. But if I was playing more, I would definitely have a little bit of Morton. When he gets hit hard. In that sense, he's kind of like Castillo. When he gets hit, the ball goes very far. Outside of Morton's first game, his swinging strike stuff's been pretty good this year. 21% swinging strike rate against Texas last game. Might be an outlier. I don't know. I do like the Dodgers bats though a little bit as well. I think I'm with Tim though in a sense that I'm leaning more of this being kind of a 2-side game if I'm multi-entering a little bit here. I mean, listen, anytime you can get the Dodgers at single-digit ownerships and I just think it's an interesting spot for Freddie Freeman as well. But I'll give you guys the floor if you want to wrap up pitching, and then we can move on to some position by position stuff. Tim.
So the Dodgers Braves are in a delay due to rain right now.
Ooh.
So just something to keep an eye out. I know we don't have Roth right now, so something to think about. I can't imagine it's that big a deal. I'm sure it's just one of those lingering Atlanta storms, summertime, getting to be summertime, but I don't know that for a fact. So hope maybe we'll get an update on weather. I'm not sure, but I just wanted to alert everybody.
Yeah, I'm certainly no meteorologist, but just to speak on that, the way the weather report read this morning on RotoGrinders, it's spotty showers. So I think bats are probably completely fine there. That's all I'm interested in that game anyway. Yeah,
me too.
Maybe it does raise the risk for Morton a little bit. I don't know, like a chance of a delay, certainly, but Atlanta is famous for those pop-up showers that go away pretty quickly. So I feel good about the bat still.
Yeah, I have no interest in Morton at all from a cash or GPP perspective. I like the Dodgers quite a bit. But to wrap up on pitching, it's Castillo, it's Burns, and it's Javier for me. Kind of like the 3 guys that it's definitely going to be Castillo for me, but whether or not I go Javier or Burns for cash, I'm still actually not sure. I got to figure that out. And then Singer for me would be like a single entry GPP guy that I like quite a bit.
Jared said it's dark outside in Atlanta. Good to know. Roth had it yellow-orange. I think he threw an update in there at some point. It's not screaming look out to me, like you guys are saying. So I think I'm still feeling okay that they get that game in. We'll see what happens. It's a shame Roth was never dumb enough to actually give me a cell phone number because I would call him on the air and I think it'd be pretty funny. Like, hey, dude, we're on Crunch Time and we need you. Help. Maybe one day. That'd be funny. Anyway, let's, we got 6:57 here. We got a little over 20 minutes. Let's go position by position. And then we'll get some questions. Make sure you're dropping them in the Discord. I'm going to look there first. And then, of course, we will have our eyes on the YouTube channel as well. And thank you guys for tuning in. Let's see here. Let's start with catcher. And of course, when we do this stuff, guys, let's like have our initial mind on FanDuel, and then if there's any differences, price wise, etc., let me know what you guys are thinking here. Obviously, you don't need a catcher on FanDuel, but a ton of them are still in play today. Talk to me, Keith. I'll start with you. Catcher, both sites here. What are you looking at?
Yeah, so even on FanDuel, I am pretty interested in some of these catchers. It's not a position I generally like to spend up on, but today there are a lot of good options in pretty good spots. We've talked about the Dodgers a little bit already. Will Smith, like one of the best hitting catchers in baseball. I'm interested in him. He's got a big price tag on FanDuel, but that means very little ownership. So love Will Smith. Sean Murphy, kind of in that exact same mold. He's got the Dodgers rookie who struggled in his first start. The Atlanta stack is something I'm very interested in today as well. Spending up for Murphy to be different is a great idea. Sal Perez, I think Lorenzen can have some luck or some success here in this start against the Royals, but Sal Perez is certainly one of their best hitters. Really like that price tag on FanDuel. You save a little bit of money going down from Murphy and Will Smith. Cal Raleigh in perhaps my favorite stack of the entire slate, the Mariners. He's down in the 6 hole. Still think he's in play because of the upside. And then the only other guy I would consider on FanDuel is MJ Melendez, just because of the price. He's in the cleanup spot for the Royals as well.
Yeah, good to see Raleigh back in the lineup there, Tim. I was ready to have a little Tom Murphy, but I'd much rather invest in Cal Riley in my Seattle lineups.
The big dumper. The big
Yes,
dumper's
sir.
in a great spot. The big dumper's in a great spot tonight. The only other person I'd mention, 2 guys, Jacob Stallings, definitely your cash game guy on DK, and then Patrick Bailey for the Giants. He's gonna Stallings might catch some ownership, so Bailey might end up being like an interesting punt pivot that is going to come in significantly lower owned than Stallings.
Cool. We'll move on to first base. I know we want to get some questions in, so let's try to keep this to like 7:10ish, guys, and I think that'll be good so we can get everybody in. First base, I mean, we talked about a couple of teams that we like. Obviously, Garrett Cooper's getting a ton of ownership here. The Sox are kind of interesting. We might see a little bit of a bullpen game there. We'll see what happens. I'll start with you, Keith. First base, what do you got?
Yeah, so this is a little bit site dependent. Justin Turner's price on FanDuel, I think, is very good. Ty France is also really cheap over there. So I like them as pivots off of Cooper, who's in Coors Field. Freddie Freeman is one of my favorite bats on the entire slate. Obviously, going back into Atlanta, where he's spent the majority of his career, if you like a little narrative. Matt Olson on the other side of that game is great. All of those are some spend-up options outside of France, but you could save some money here at this position as well. Tristan Casas, one of my favorite plays on the entire slate. Very cheap, hitting 6 for Boston. Not scared of Berea. Not sure how deep Berea goes into this game, and expecting to get somebody like either Chase Silseth, which would be ideal, or Tucker Davidson behind Berea to kind of eat up 2 or 3 innings as well. But I like the Boston stack a good amount. Casas is a great way to save some money.
All right, Tim, go ahead.
Yeah, Shohei Ohtani's my favorite spend up on DK. Garrett Cooper obviously is a great play in Coors. Justin Turner, Ty France would be another guy that I mentioned. Ty France is pretty cheap on FanDuel. And then Matt Olson. I love that Atlanta game. I hope that the weather is okay because I currently have him on FanDuel right now.
I mean, if we're going to get microscopic ownership on that game, I'll keep the bats in my pool and just, if I were to have Morton, I would probably just say, you know what, I'll find somewhere else to go, I think, at this point. But, if you're playing single entry and you're uncomfortable, different story. That's your money. Protect your money. Do what you got to do. But, if that's going to deter even more people, both sides of this game, let's go. I'm with that for sure. If you want to, go ahead on second base, Tim, if there's anything else you want to add on first base. Sorry if I cut you off.
No, I'll go to second. I like John Birdie quite a bit on FanDuel 3,100. He's got tri-positional eligibility over there. Zach McKinstry is probably your cash game guy on both sites. Second base is pretty bad on DK. Ozzie Albies for tournaments is a great play. And then Mookie Betts at second base. I always like to sneak him in that second because outfield's always so loaded. I think he's another great play at second.
I can't get used to that second baseman Mookie Betts.
It's so weird. It's so weird.
Keith, anything else you want to add there?
So Luis Ariz has a ridiculous price on DraftKings, more playable on FanDuel, but certainly in Coors Field. I know he doesn't have a ton of power, but if the Marlins are scoring runs, Ariz is going to be on base more than likely. Don't want to leave him out. A guy I really like is Edward Julian for Minnesota. He's leading off. We're not positive who's coming in behind Brebbia in another bullpen opener situation. It's either going to be Sean Manaea or Tristan Beck. If it's Manaea, I love the Minnesota righties in this spot. Manaea has been atrocious this year. So Julian in the leadoff spot, another good way to save some money here.
I'm going to stick right here. Carlos Correa is a righty. He plays shortstop. Would he headline some of your interest there at the position?
Yeah, definitely. Very cheap on FanDuel, just $2,900. Interested in him no matter who's coming in behind Brebbia. Birdie obviously has eligibility here. It falls off pretty quickly after that. You've got Crawford leading off for Seattle, one of my top stacks of the day, in the lefty-lefty matchup, but that's all right. Leading off, you've got that Oakland bullpen as well. He's cheap. Certainly okay with that. Bobby Witt Jr. got moved down in the order, which was disappointing. I had some interest in him. I'm still interested because of the upside. Just prefer to see him hitting at the top of the order. Baez is cheap with some power against Singer. If Singer still has some issues, don't mind that one as well.
Tim, you got anything to add for shortstop?
No, I'll just go to third. Juan Segura is easily your cash game option. He's very, very, very cheap on both sites. $2,700 on FanDuel, $2,900 on DK. Suarez for Seattle, I love quite a bit on both sites. Austin Riley is really cheap on FanDuel, $2,900. I love that. I currently have him on my single entry team on FanDuel, and then Devers I think is like a really, really great one-off today. He might end up getting steamed up into ownership, but I say go with it. Like, I love the Red Sox today, but if there's one spend up today that I want to have like as a one-off, it's between Devers and Ohtani right now. Those are like my two like favorite like one-off. Like, don't worry about the stack. I absolutely love Devers today.
I don't hate Max Muncy either. He's ripping the cover off the ball, and weather pending, of course, we'll see. But I think you guys pretty much nailed it. Such a big ownership number for Birdie at the top. I don't know. Anyway, moving on to the outfield. For a tricky little slate, there are a ton of options that are nice, and a lot of blips next to Teoscar, Riley Green, Jorge Soler, and Mickey Moniak starting. Again, I think maybe the Taylor Ward thing is slowly coming to a halt. Ohtani has a cheese blip at the top as well. So we haven't really talked about the Angels, and he's looking to carry a ton of ownership on FanDuel, and rightfully so, I guess. But Keith, outfield, what do you got for me?
Yeah, I mean, it starts with Jorge Soler for me. You mentioned him. Like, I'm not playing a ton of Miami stacks, but Soler, even though he has ownership, like, he's a guy that can hit 2 home runs in this spot. Massive fly ball rate against Anderson, was previously a fly ball pitcher in his career. He's kind of gotten that under control a little bit, but it's still Coors Field. Soler should be able to get the ball in the air today. Love him in this spot. Julio Rodriguez, outstanding option for Seattle. Teoscar is underpriced on both sites. Love him. Byron Buxton, a guy with massive upside, especially if we see the lefty Manaea coming in after Brebbia. Chris Bryant's in Coors Field. Ronald Acuna in that weather game. Chat's kind of commenting on that a little bit. Like, they're saying the radar looks pretty iffy on that. So by all means, manage your risk there if you need to. I'm sticking with it just because I'm on the show and don't have many options right now. But we'll see how that works out. It could end up being a really good thing. Love the Moniak call as a punt leading off. The Boston guys, I'm highly interested in as well. Yoshida's been really good. Duran is hitting in the middle of the order. He's cheap. AJ Pollock is another punt that I like for Seattle. Jared Kelenic, another Seattle bat that I really like, lefty, but he's been really solid against lefties. He's in the middle of a huge breakout, finally paying off that prospect status. So definitely like all of the Seattle guys.
Love Pollock tonight, plus 470 to homer on Caesars. So I hit that a little bit earlier. Tim, anything to add at outfield here?
The only person that I'd add that Keith didn't mention is I don't know if he mentioned it or not, but like Byron Buxton. Did we ever get confirmation, Keith, about who's going to be going for San Francisco?
It's
We
either
know
Mania or Beck, which that's a lefty and a righty. The way that the Twins set up their lineup, I feel like it's going to be Mania. There's a lot of righties in that lineup, so that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, that would be so juicy if Mania goes, because I think that Minnesota is going to be kind of like this forgotten stack tonight, because we're kind of uncertain who's even pitching for San Francisco. But either way, their options aren't very good. So I really like getting to Buxton. And if Colorado gets completely forgotten about, I mean, they're not going to go completely forgotten about, but people are very bearish on them for good reason. But it's not a horrible matchup. So like Chris Bryant, Brenton Doyle are guys that I wouldn't mind getting to as one-offs. Like, you don't necessarily have to stack Colorado. And then I think for cash games, you're going Soler and De La Cruz. And the only reason that you're fading them in tournaments is because of ownership, which is completely up to everyone's own risk tolerance. They're going to be popular, but I think those are your cash game guys.
Kind of like the same deal for Boston stacks. So like we're probably going to get Tucker Davis in at some point. And he's not very good. I know Boston has a lot of lefties, but there's some guys in that Boston lineup that are coming, in really low, that are really good at baseball other than Devers. So I think they're kind of sneaky too. Of course, you'd rather, stack them in Fenway, but what are you going to do? Take some questions. What do you guys think?
Yep.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, cool. Let me check Discord first. Not a lot.
While you're doing that, apparently we just got a change in the Minnesota lineup. Donovan Solano is in for Joey Gallo, so get Joey Gallo out of your lineups.
Okay.
That's a pretty significant downgrade. I mean, I still like Minnesota, but
I think I saw that earlier.
A lot of home run equity just left the building.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely.
and I would say that's another point towards Mania as the guy who's coming in behind him.
That's a good point, Keith.
Yeah, good point. Get that lefty out of there. I'm with you. Drop some questions in the Discord. I see a couple people typing. I'll start in the YouTube. Talk about Detroit a little bit. Eric Haas, DKGPP in a mini stack. What are you guys thinking about him? Any interest?
I'm fine with it. I don't know if I do it in single entry, but I'm fine with getting to both sides of that game, because Detroit's really cheap and Singer is not some guy that we trust. I would lean to the Singer side, but I don't hate it.
Keith, Discord saying Gallo's in, Solano's out. Can you confirm when you get a minute, if you don't mind?
Let me see. Yeah, I said that backwards. It is Gallo in, Solano out, which is the opposite. Yeah, they were saying that it was Solano all along. Correct. I misspoke. It's Gallo in for Solano.
We'll let that one slide. We like you here. So Gallo in is definitely big and maybe less of a chance of seeing Mania.
I still like Minnesota though.
I do too. I like him more now, actually.
Yeah, me too.
I'll go back to you, Tim. Suarez or Riley for FanDuel Cash, third base?
That's really tough. I'm gonna go with Riley. They're
FanDuel Cash, last piece, Keith. Moniak or Jared Walsh, straight up.
For Cash, I like the guy leading off. Moniak has been hitting the ball really well. Walsh is working his way back from a lengthy injury. So I'll go with Moniak there.
Okay. Let's see. Luch bend the brim. I should just throw the Sixers hat out, to be honest with you. A lot of basketball talk in the chat. I'm scrolling down. Bear with me, folks. I guess, but while I'm scrolling here, who's your favorite off the wall stack, Keith?
I mean, it was going to be the Dodgers for sure. I think this weather is lowering their ownership even further into almost nothing. I'm sticking with Dodgers.
Here we go. Looking for a shortstop, DKGPP. Tim, Garrett Hampson or Orlando Arcia? Garrett Hampson revenge game. Buying into it.
I say go with Hampson. I prefer getting to these cheaper Miami guys than the expensive ones. So I say go with Hampson.
All right. Let's see. We talked about Edward Cabrera, Atlanta weather issue. Roth has a yellow-orange. Let's see. Solar or Ohtani as a one-off, Keith?
I mean, they're both great. I prefer the ownership on Ohtani if it's a one-off, but both two of the top hitters on the slate.
All right. FanDuel Cash, Tim. Do you like De La Cruz or Teoscar?
I think it's De La Cruz in cash.
Okay.
But there's a $600 difference, though. So
it's true. I'm assuming money's not an issue there.
Yeah, so then it's definitely De La Cruz.
I'm going to throw a DK cash. I'm going to stay with you for a DK cash question. I think Keith
Yep.
is the tournament guy only.
Yep.
Caballero, I think I said that right, for Seattle,
Yep.
or Massey for cash?
I say Massey for cash.
All right. B-Shot, no Taylor Ward mentions. What's up, B-Shot? One of my season-long truthers. Let's see. Favorite two-team stack for DraftKings, Keith?
So just kind of who fits together.
Gotcha.
Let me see here. I've got Seattle as my top overall stack today. Just kind of looking like Ty France is going to get some ownership at first. I don't love him. I know he's hitting in the 2-hole and he's cheap. But if you can fit some Boston guys with Cassis at first over France, I think that's a good way to go.
How about this, Tim? Let's see. Yeah, here we go. Justin Turner or Tristan Cassis in a Boston stack?
I mean, it's close. I kind of like Casas.
Okay. Yeah, it's close for me too. I like Boston as a whole. I think they're getting overlooked. Here's a good one for those who are newer to Mlb DFS. If there's a late start, can you swap? I'm pretty sure, isn't it after the game time locks?
Once the game locks, you can't swap. So like if the start time is 7:15, then your guys are locked.
Right.
Doesn't matter if the game has started. Right.
If anyone's newer and hasn't dealt with weather, once that first pitch time is over, you're stuck. So make a decision. And yes, Gallo is in. Joey Gallo playing baseball tonight, allegedly. So in case anybody missed that one. Solar or Buxton for cash, Keith?
I think you got to stick with Coors Field there. I know it's weird to say Soler with all his strikeout issues, but that a matchup in Coors Field against an extremely low strikeout pitcher, it's Soler.
All right. Let's see. What does Kirk's weather model say about the Atlanta game? Kirk, if you're hiding out somewhere, we want to hear about
what's the dew point model say? Come on, man. He's holding out on us. I know he is.
Question in the Discord. I'll throw it over to you, Tim. Thoughts on the top of the Giants stack for tournaments?
They weren't really on my radar. I'm going to look at the top stacks tool also, just to make sure I'm not missing anything. They're rated really badly. So definitely the Sims don't like them either. They're not really on my radar. So I'm out.
Any love for Rowdy Tellez on Fanduel, Keith?
Yep. I think you can certainly hunt a home run there. I like both him and Yelich today.
All right. So Solano going to replace Julian when a lefty is in. What do you guys think of? Is there a pinch hit risk with Julian? There's Kirkwood. Give us some weather, Kirkwood.
I mean, they're both righties, right? I don't see what the need would be for that.
All right, 7:16, guys. Drop your questions in. We're hanging out. You guys have anything else cross your mind you've been meaning to?
Julian is a left.
Julian has a 30% pinch hit risk according to the bat.
He is a lefty. I was wrong on that.
That's not. Yeah, that's all right. That's not horrible, but that's pretty high. But I've seen a lot higher. So I mean, it's not. I think you could play him in tournaments. I think I would not play him in cash though.
Okay. Who's subbing for Kevin Roth for the weather? Roth, we don't have subs for Roth. We literally don't take him off the court. So even when he's busy, he's posting his own weather updates, as much as he can for us. QQ FanDuel 3v3. Tim, I'll throw it over to you. Walsh, Correa, and Ohtani, or Tellez, McKinstry, and Julio.
I think the first one.
Okay. See a couple other people typing in the chat there, so I'll give you guys some time. 7:17, start wrapping up your lineups and making a decision on your Dodgers Atlanta game. I'm sticking with what I have. I didn't have any Charlie Morton in the beginning, so I'm sticking with my bats here. Question for Keith in the Discord for smaller field tournaments. Do you like playing guys like Pollock and Caballero with Raleigh and Kalinick in your Seattle stack? I guess, how do you feel about those Mariners is where we're going for smaller field stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I assume that's overplaying like Julio Teoscar Suarez stack for Seattle, and instead pivoting down to some of the lower owned guys. I absolutely love that. I mentioned specifically Kalinick's numbers against lefties. He's been really good. Using the bottom of the order to wrap that around is certainly a good way to differentiate.
Okay. Yeah, Brady Singer and Tanner Houck. Do you guys have a lean with either one? I think you guys were talking about Singer more.
I would strongly prefer Singer in that 1v1 scenario.
I'm with Tim on that, definitely.
That's just me.
All right. FanDuel cash question. Keith, I'll give you this one. Cooper and Suarez or Segura and McKinstry?
I would go the first one.
First one, okay. Yeah, Trout or Julio? There's a banger of a high upside outfield dilemma.
I think Trout's going to be lower owned because I think Seattle's going to be one of the highest owned stacks, but they're both great. The answer is yes to either one. I would assume that Trout will be lower owned though, so maybe for a large field GPP, I'd go Trout.
Yeah, I like that take. Eventually, Julio's going to go on this torrid stretch where he just like homers for a week straight. We know it's coming. Real quick question from Discord. Good shortstop for FanDuel tournaments other than Birdie, Keith. Who do you like at shortstop?
Carlos Correa is a top option. If you need something a little lower owned, Bobby Witt Jr. Those are my two.
That sounds good. I just wanted to get that in there before lock, and we are at 7:20 Eastern here on our end of things. So that was good timing. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a fun little slate. I'm curious to see where exactly Luis Castillo comes in ownership-wise on both sites. He was certainly a pivotal decision-making point, and I just feel like I can't blame you for whatever you decide to do with Luis Castillo tonight. You know what I mean? Like, it's to each their own. Elite matchup. We know who Luis Castillo is. We know his upside. It's just such a huge ownership number, and there are a couple other high upside pitchers that are coming in at some pretty generous ownership tonight, and we will see what happens. And boy, do I hope that Atlanta game plays. I don't know who's with me on that one, but
I was already overweight on the Dodgers, so if that ownership plummeted, I'm going to be a Dodgers fan tonight.
My FanDuel lineup would be completely dead right off the bat, so that would be the end of my FanDuel night.
All right, let me get your basketball take in here quick. Wait, hold on. Ohtani or Trout for FanDuel tournaments? Hold on.
Ohtani's the better play, but he's going to be the higher owned one. So I think if you're one-offing in a large field GPP, it should be Trout. I honestly think that if it's a one-off.
Cool. All right, guys, thanks for sticking with us. Before we get out of here, does Denver close out the Lakers tonight? What are we thinking?
I'll go yes. Denver wins.
Yeah, I would lean yes also.
We will see what happens. Jamal Murray's been on one crazy stretch, and
Atlanta is expected to start at 8:00 Eastern, so I think we're okay with that game.
That's very reassuring.
Keith can breathe.
Yeah.
Good news for Atlanta Dodger exposure, that's for sure. Need Tim's take on Carolina versus Florida from Dean78904 in the chat.
No comment, Dean.
All right. Well, I guess this is our cue to head out of here. Thanks for sticking with us, guys. Check out Chief's new show. Hey, before we get out of here, our guy, Will Priester from the Prop Shop. Great stuff. New live show during the week, every day, called Will's Take Your Pick'em. You want DFS, you want props, you want prize picks, Will gotcha. He's the man for that stuff. Check it out on the RotoGrinders YouTube page. And with that, we're going to head out of here. So for producer Steve, for Tim, for Keith, for Dean, and TJ before us, I'm Justin. Thanks, guys, and have a good night.